Welcome back, Legends! It's gonna be a different video today. As you notice, there was no intro and outro, and that's because I'm trying something a little bit new. Well, Apex Legends doesn't have a whole lot of news to cover, and that's Apex Legends Death Battles. It's gonna be a series where we take two of Respawn's finest murder athletes and scientifically determine which one would turn the other into a purple box, all while pretending the devs won't nerf them mid-script. Today's matchup is a pretty interesting one. It has to do with the two highest picked Legends in the last couple of seasons, the missile-spamming Sky Demon Valkyrie versus the cold calculated simulacrum with a sword that probably violates OSHA guidelines, Ash. So we're going to deep dive into their lore, their combat stats, their personalities, and then run a full one-on-one duel to the death. No squads, no third parties, no ring, just two legends entering and one legend leaving as a glorified loot pinata. So we're going to start with the daughter of Titanfall legend Viper, known as Valkyrie. Valkyrie, whose real name is Kyara Imahara, probably horribly mispronounced that, was practically born in a cockpit. Her father, as I stated, was none other than Viper, the infamous apex predator from Titanfall 2. After Viper died fighting Jack Cooper, Karia spent years angry, rebellious, and trying to drink jet fuel, metaphorically, to cope with the loss. She eventually stole parts of her father's Titan and built her signature jetpack, creating the iconic VTOL jets. Motivation? Well, simply she wants to forge her own legacy, which is the title of one of her stories from the Outlands, not just right on her father. She enters the Apex games not only to fight, but to kind of feel closer to him. Now, in terms of her personality, Valkyrie is loud, cocky, hyperactive, the embodiment of if you can't dazzle them with skill, distract them with trash talk. She flirts with everyone, she mouths off constantly, she's basically a 20-something with a jetpack and the confidence of someone who's never paid rent on time. Her abilities and stats are pretty interesting. She has the jetpack passive and a flight fuel limitation. This is the defining feature. It allows her to have sustained aerial movement. She can fly up, hover, strafe midair, and dive bomb. Her fuel isn't infinite, but she can repeatedly reposition. In a duel, it's actually pretty massive. She also has the tactical missile swarm, where Valkyrie will fire 12 micro missiles that stun and soften her target. The first one hits for 25, the others sprinkle in a few extra points, but the real value is, well, crowd control. The stun, the disorientation, the slowdown. Basically, she's telling the enemy, hey, what if it's a cluster strike, but petty? And then her ultimate is Skyward Dive. Her ultimate is actually less relevant in a constrained duel, mainly because you don't need to reposition halfway across the map in a one-on-one fight. But if the battlefield is open, Valkyrie can effectively reset the engagement, rocket upwards, scan the opponent, and then choose the next angle. In a pure 1v1, Skyward Dive could actually turn the fight into a two-phase boss battle where Valkyrie controls the skies. Now, her strengths in a 1v1 combat value, she has supreme vertical control here. Val can take fights no other legend can reach. She's hard to hit due to the fact that she's a flying target. Her missile swarm creates free punish moments, and the Skyward Dive can break sightlines and force Ash to reposition. However, she does also have some weaknesses. If the fight drags on due to her fuel limitations, she loses mobility and becomes predictable. And also, in confined areas, her jetpack is basically a loud fan. She also is easy to hit when landing or recovering fuel, and Ash loves predicting movement with a lot of her abilities. In a duel, Valkyrie plays like a jet-powered wasp. She hits you, backs up 30 feet vertically, drops missiles, and circles again. Her whole game plan is stay unpredictable, keep air superiority, and don't let the enemy breathe. But what she fears most is control, which brings us to Ash. Now, if Valkyrie is the wild, reckless spirit of the skies, Ash is the cold, calculated, I did my taxes in January type. Ash started as Dr. Ashley Reed, a brilliant scientist who secretly worked as a mercenary sabotaging Project Iris and Olympus. When the plan collapsed and she died in the explosion, her consciousness was transferred into a simulacrum body, turning her into the cold machine we now know. Her psyche basically fractured. Ash is logic, control, surgical violence, and then Lee, which is her suppressed human emotions. This makes her terrifying, a fighter with zero fear, zero hesitation, and perfect recall. Ash is basically, in terms of personality, what happens when the Terminator develops trauma. She is ruthless, efficient, and has the energy of someone who says, you disappoint me, without moving her mouth. Now, as for her abilities and stats, she has the ability with her passive to, well, scan death boxes and scan killers, which in a battle royale, it's huge. In a 1v1 duel, it's mostly useless, but it still reinforces one thing. Ash is designed to relentlessly hunt a specific target. She's the predator, not the prey. Her arc snare, though, well, this is the big one in this matchup. Arc snare is a glowing ball of sit and think about your choices. It pulls enemy towards the center and restricts movement. Against grounded targets, it's annoying. Against Valkyrie, whose entire kit relies on mobility, it can be absolutely devastating. Her ultimate is, well, Phase Breach. Ash's ult lets her instantly teleport to any visible location. In a duel, this is a lethal tool. Instant gap closer, instant flank, instant punish, or instant escape. If Valk is in the sky, Ash can port behind her landing spot. If Valk runs, Ash cuts the distance. If Valk tries to drop missiles, Ash can appear behind her mid-animation, or, well, I guess animation still works, whatever. Anyways, her strengths in the duel are pretty obvious. The movement control with the arc snare denying aerial freedom. She has instant engagement with the phase breach, which guarantees distance, is basically a suggestion here. Surgical precision, where every ability has kill intent, and predictive AI logic. She basically reads opponents extremely well, though she does have weaknesses. Her portal only goes one direction, and the snare is missable. If she whiffs the snare, Valkyrie can actually punish that. And there's no true verticality mobility. She can't reach Valk without cooldowns, and it's very reliant on timing. Unlike Valk, who can spam jets, Ash needs to be insanely precise. Ash in a 1v1 fight, well, she fights like a trapdoor spider. She waits, she predicts, she punishes. She's the mathematical counterpoint to Valkyrie's wild chaos. Her game plan is control movement, eliminate escape routes, take aggressive teleport angles, and end the fight in seconds, which sets the stage for a nightmare matchup. And that's kind of why I wanted to start off the series with these two, actually, is because one, they both have some legacy tied to Titanfall 2, but also they just have interesting comparisons in their ability. So this arena that we're going to be putting them in is open, flat ground with scattered cover. Basically, think Thunderdome from King's Canyon when it was originally in. So the way that this will basically happen with opening moves is Valkyrie's going to be firing her jets, blasting upward in a spiraling climb. She's going to gain vertical dominance almost instantly, raining a missile swarm towards Ash. The reason why this has to happen is Valk opening with air control is optimal. Missiles pressure Ash into movement. Ash has to avoid the stun early. Ash dodges sideways, narrowly escapes. She then throws an arc snare upward, and then the snare narrowly misses Valk as she jukes in mid-air. The reason for this is, well, the snare is harder to land vertically, Valk's unpredictable airborne strafing gives her early advantage, and Ash losing the first exchange, to be honest, is kind of expected. Valk, I assume, will land 2 missile hits, minor damage, but the stun slows Ash briefly. This leads us into phase 2, where Ash would steady herself, she stops reacting, she starts predicting. She watches Valk's flight patterns. Up, left, hover, dip right, climb. On the next loop, Ash throws the arc snare not at Valk, but at where Valk will be. Valk flies straight into it. This actually leads into Ash's strength, which is prediction. Valk's jet fuel has a rhythm. Grounded legends who jump or fly often become pattern-based, and Ash would exploit this perfectly. Valk is tethered and dragged downward. Then Ash would activate her phase breach, instantly teleporting her behind the snared Valkyrie mid-fall, and she would slash with her sword. Valk would attempt to boost away, but her fuel is limited after the early burst, as we talked about in her discussion. She would take the hit. Ash's phase breach is the perfect follow-up to a successful snare, and Valk's biggest weakness surfaces when grounded. She is vulnerable. However, Valk would manage to break free for a moment and trigger skyward dive, shooting skyward with violent acceleration. And it is smart because she needs to reset the fight, and she needs space, altitude, and a time for fuel to recharge. From the ground, Ash watches calmly. She waits until Valk reaches peak ascent, then she throws her arc snare into Valk's descent arc and would basically nail her. Valk would plummet, tethered again, struggling to break free. Again, Ash would phase breach behind Valkyrie's landing point, positioning perfectly. As Valk hits the ground, disorientated, low fuel, stunned, Ash kneels beside her and calmly says, "Your freedom was always an illusion," and she delivers the finishing strike. And with that, Valkyrie becomes scrap in the sand. So why did this 1v1 fight between Valkyrie and Ash go the way it did? And the logic, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense. Ash directly counters Valk's mobility, as the arc snare punishes airborne movement better than almost any tool in Apex. And Ash is known to read patterns. Valkyrie's jet fuel forces her into predictable loops that Ash can read. Plus, the phase breach closes distances instantly, and Valkyrie can't outrun or outrise a teleport. Valk's weaknesses also shows an extended engagement. Her fuel eventually runs dry. Ash never really gets tired, and Ash thrives on control. Valk thrives on chaos, and a pure duel, control wins. Could, though, Valkyrie ever win? Yeah, if she maintains perfect air unpredictability, forces early snare whiffs, and never lets Ash close the gap. But those conditions are extremely hard in a controlled 1v1 setting. And that wraps up my first ever Apex Legends death battle. I hope you guys liked it. I'll try one more of these to see if you guys as fans like them, and then maybe we'll do a whole series. And you can also leave me comments down below on which legends you would like to see matched up below in a 1v1 death battle scenario. But as always, thank you guys for coming, and until the next video, keep slaying in the Outlands, and I'll see you out there.